I never grew up with educators that looked like myself. I always knew that wisdom was a powerful tool, but I also know that oftentimes we neglect it because of who it comes from.
Facts.
It's not necessarily just about being a king, it's more so about becoming a kingmaker.
Man, you got to be close enough to relate, but far enough ahead to inspire. And you said y'all traveled to Virginia, right?
Yeah, so we went to Virginia. So her uncle as well as her grandma had transitioned.
Yeah.
And the timing was very impeccable, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
in a negative light, right?
For
But I
sure.
saw that to say, we went to the uncle Thursday, and then we went to the grandma Saturday. But again, the grandma being the woman that she was brought everybody out, man, and it was a good time. I know she was smelling down and enjoying seeing the congregation celebrate her.
For sure. Was it the same like side of the family? Like was it cuz was it
Nah, it's two separate sides. It's two separate sides.
got you. Cuz I'm like, man, that would have been even more crazy, but it would have been dope cuz I know you would have
Yeah.
seen.
Hmm.
It's funny. I was watching a movie and I thought about you, bro, cuz it was basically they were traveling. They were from some part of Virginia. I think it was Richmond, and they had ended
Okay.
up traveling to North Carolina. So I'm like, damn, that's actually interesting because Marcus, Marcus is in what I'm saying, Virginia right now. So I was like, damn, they must be kind of close to each other. But then I remembered you telling me because in this same movie, they had traveled to New York too, and I was like, damn, I remember Marcus saying like New York ain't too far either. So I was like, damn, okay. I'm like, all right, they putting me on,
Mhm.
they put me on. So yeah, man, but life is
So
good.
I ain't say New York wasn't too far. I think
Ah,
I had been there at one point in time for work, so I
yeah.
think that was the correlation.
100%, yeah. Because you had the company you was working with, they brought you out. I remember
Hmm.
because hey,
Yeah,
that episode was fire. I remember that.
yeah, yeah.
You did it live from the hotel room. I definitely remember that. But did you
Hmm.
drove up though, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, heck no, no.
Ah, got
Only
you,
way I'm going from North Carolina to New York is on a flight.
got you. Okay,
That's a hump. That's a hump, man.
I thought so. I
Hmm.
thought so. But
Yeah.
shit, you never know, man. You never know. But yeah, man.
That ain't me. So, bro, it's crazy you mentioned that. The older I get, the
Mhm,
more I like just whipping it though. Like, bro, when I was a kid, bro, I'm out the window. I want to be left alone. I want to take a nap.
for
But
sure.
now, bro, I love hitting the road. I don't mind driving at all. I love to whip. You know what I'm saying? I feel like my dad.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
real,
yeah,
for
yeah.
real. It ain't nothing to take a road trip.
Man, I can tell you what it is, man. Back in the day, man, when you was a little younger, you had unreliable cars. So you like, you know what? I ain't really trying to drive that joint. You know what I'm saying? It might break down on me. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to go state to state. But now, as an adult, seasoned vet driver, man, you can kind of trust your will a little bit more because you in a more reliable car. Because I know that's what it was for me. I remember the first car that I bought when I was in college. Like I had a car that I bought for like $500. That joint.
Come on.
I ended up, bro. And this is back in the
Super
day,
deal.
bro. Back
Yeah.
in the day, as you can imagine. Hey, it's funny. I told my girl this the other day. I'm like, bro, I think that joint just ran out of gas. I thought that like something happened. It stopped working. I was like 15. Man, my joint ain't starting, and I ended up junking it. But I'm like, looking back, I'm like, I think that joint just ran out of gas. But the car that I bought after that, I spent like 1,500 on that joint. It was a 2000 Ford Taurus. I remember that was my baby boy, and I was in college. And I remember my homie like, man, you should take me home, like for break, so we could like kick it, whatever, whatever. So I'm like, man, I ain't gonna lie. This joint made it to Indiana from Chicago, but I don't know if this joint can make it from Indiana to Wisconsin. so,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
man, hey, we made the trip. We made it. We made it back to school. I was like, hey, look, you know what? But yeah, man. But back in the day, man, it was risky business. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I respect it. So
Yeah,
crazy thing is, I trusted the whip. So my first whip I bought was actually in college. It
yeah,
was a '96 Lexus, and I'm a '96 baby, so that was
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
thing to
yeah,
me. Um, but it had like 22s on it, big rims. It looked drug dealerish. Is what I used to always get respectfully, right?
yeah,
But I loved it, man. But the only problem I had was potholes, bro. I
yeah.
probably went through about 10 to 12 tires within a 3-4 year span, for real, for real. Fed with
Yeah,
potholes. We gotta do something about that. They,
yeah,
they they definitely hit me. But following that, then transition, I got the BMW. You couldn't tell me nothing when I got that joint. I always wanted one as a kid, so you know what I'm
yeah,
saying. Now being
yeah,
able to have it, but maintenance, I didn't do the best job of maintenance. That joint definitely ended up overheating. Might have been a problem prior to,
yeah,
but went out on me. Had to get the family Chevy for the family,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and uh, and
Man,
I
it's
got my Beamer
funny.
for me, so I'm content.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned BMW, man. Me and my old lady, I just literally we just took her BMW in the shop, man, because the check engine light had came on, and
Mm.
man,
And that
she,
joint hurt every time.
bruh, she famous for saying it's gonna knock the Mario coins out you every time she go get something done on it. And literally,
No, definitely.
she sent me the invoice. I'm like, shh, that's crazy. I was like, man, just for a little check
I'm
engine
telling you.
joint. But we got that joint situated. You know, we got back to the crib. Not too much time spent, but definitely cost a pretty penny, man. Um,
I promise you. I
but
promise you. Every time.
just
Mm.
kind of some life updates, man. We completed the project of cleaning, not cleaning, but painting our laundry room, bro. And what's funny, we paid somebody to come and do the floor. And when I tell you, I saw the work that they did, I was like, bruh, we could have did that, and for a fraction of the
Mm.
price. You know what I'm saying? Because I already bought a lot of the equipment. But I said, you know what? Now that I see what they did, bruh, forget that, baby. I'm gonna do the walls. So I went down there today, man, knocked that out. She came down there like, oh man, this look good. I was like, man, thank you. I'm like, but part of me wanted to throw a little jab, like I told you, we could have did it ourselves from jump. But man, bro, it's just the beauty of being a homeowner, man. I'm excited to like take on more of those projects for myself and not like rely on anybody else. Kind of like Nelson, we kind of talked about when he was on the pod. It was like, bro, you go on YouTube University, start looking up them videos, and as long as you obviously apply it to your situation and not try to use exactly what they doing for them, I think you'll be straight, man. But I was proud that, man, it took me like 2 hours, man. I might clip some of the content from it because I recorded it just to kind of time myself. And man, it was smooth though, man. It definitely looked good. So I'm proud of that.
Salute, salute. Now that's amazing when you can put your spin and your touch on your crib.
For sure. For sure.
I program, bro.
Oh man, it's smooth, bro. So we at this portion of it where we're doing this job readiness, bro. And the idea is to equip the young people with tangible skills that they can use to go into the workforce, right?
Come
Um,
on.
and then we have some students that they have entrepreneurial spirits and don't want to work for anybody else, but they still can take these skills and apply them to pretty much anything that they want to do. The last session that we had was pretty powerful because it was selling yourself even though you don't have experience. So it basically got them to shift the idea of experience being having a job to things that you do at home, solving problems in school, or just things that you do in a community. And we created this framework. It's pretty much called STAR, where you talk about the situation, which is the context of the story or whatever is happening. Then the task, so what it is that you actually were trying to do. A stands for action, so literally what was the action that you took, and then R is the result. And it was dope to kind of hear them talk about some of the most, I don't want to say minute, but like things that they probably didn't think was important, but it was super important. And it was just dope to see them start like talking with a bit more confidence. And then I think one of the other powerful pieces was having them understanding like what most employers are looking for, like what is important to employers, I think is a better way of saying it. And the number one thing was your attitude, right? And it was so funny. They're like, skills, because we asked them, like, what do you think? They're like, skills, this, that. And I'm like, no, skills wasn't even on the list. Like, yes, they want to make sure that you're able to do the job. But if you come in with a poor attitude every day, you're less likely to get that job.
Mhm.
And then I think communication
Definitely.
was next. Then, your punctuality. And then lastly, it was, how do you collaborate on teams? And I think for some of the young people, they were able to see, I do some of these things well already, but then there are some
Mhm.
growth areas that I need to kind of make. But I made an example out of the entire group because our program started at 4, bro. and everybody walked in at like 4:15. And I'm like, if I was an employer
Damn. Mm,
and I were hiring you guys, or if I was
it's a wrap.
hiring, I'm not hiring any of you. And
Hmm.
not just because you were late. It was because you were late and you knew we started at 4, and the other mentors had to come out and get you. So it was like this. This wasn't important to you. You showed me that, and
Hmm.
I thought that was funny. But it's interesting when you have relationships with the kids, because I'm like, this is not a conversation. This is a lecture. You need to be listening. They kept trying, they kept trying to like, nah, but this
You
is why,
chime in.
yeah. I
Hmm.
was like, no,
Yeah.
no, no. I don't even want to hear that. But
Hmm.
but it was dope though, again, because they were able to see the impact of them like being late. Because again, they like, well, Mr. T not gonna care. I don't care, but we're trying to prepare you guys for the real life. So how you do anything is how
Hmm.
you do everything. So you need to treat this just like this is that opportunity.
Definitely, accountability is vital, and especially when you have that relationship, there's a little bit more of a care, right?
One hundred
There's a little
percent.
bit
One
more
hundred
of a,
percent.
I don't want to disappoint, I don't want to let down, opposed to the average individual. It's a shrug, right? So, I definitely understand that. Um, Everything went swell this way, though, man. We actually just spoke on a panel, Next Generation Business Forum.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the panel was so diverse from individuals in AI, individuals in like grant funding, individuals in entertainment, social media, like very, very diverse, man. And it was dope for the students to have the perspective of just being able to pick our brain, man, having a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different questions, conversations. I mean, it was worthwhile. But outside of that, man, we just got a 25K grant from the city,
Okay.
man, for the summer. So
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to that, man. We got a lot of different activations coming in play, from community day to fashion shows to silent disco parties for the old heads, like a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited, bro. I'm excited, man. We about to make some impact this summer.
Yeah, man. So for our listeners, like that are doing similar work, like how do you find yourself? Like how are people reaching out to you to be on these panels? Like, are you looking for them, or is it due to previous relationships?
Yeah, great question. So it's networking. It's consistent activity. It's building relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So this opportunity actually came because I there was a college tour that the mentors were doing. I happened to come to it. It was one of our schools, one of the middle schools we work with, and the gentleman who was there was at one point in time a part of our team, an associate, but he
Yeah,
transitioned. But he's still working at the school, so the relationship has always been there,
for sure.
and we were literally just chatting, rapping while I happened to pull up to the tour. And he was like, "You know what, man? This next few weekends, I was thinking about XYZ." He was like, "You know what? We actually need a speaker, man. Would you be down?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Bro, like I'm more than willing to play a role." And he connected me with somebody else who I used to know from a whole nother role. Crazy thing is, I went to a client prospecting, and went to go eat, and the woman was actually standing right down the aisle for me. Essentially, I was at the bar, and literally come to find out, she was one of the ones who was CC'd on the email. So everything just
Ah,
kind of interconnected from there. Pulled up, seen them all. It felt like family. I knew some of the other people on the team. So yeah, man, it was a good time. But just connecting the dots.
that's dope, man. That's dope. Cause it reminds me, man. I recently got invited to do a career day at this middle school near where I work, and it's
Mm-hmm.
always funny, man. Cause it's like, all right, here I am in this role, but then also I do all these entrepreneurial things. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what do I like? I always kind of like go in there and I'm like, what do I lead with? Do I lead with this or do I lead with that? But ultimately, I think it is having the awareness to be able to articulate both, right? Like maybe there are
Mm-hmm.
some kids that want to do, what I'm doing, but then there's also a group of kids, kind of like I mentioned earlier, that have this entrepreneurial spirit, that maybe have a clothing line or maybe want to be rappers or basketball player, whatever the thing is. Maybe they want to be electricians, have their own businesses. So it's like giving them the tools to understand that what they want is most important. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because I think at the end of the day, like when we had Chad on, I had to give him his
Yeah,
kudos because I was
definitely.
like,
Yeah.
bro, like what you're doing is phenomenal. Like you gave your kids
Mm-hmm.
a runway to say, all right, I get I need to know math. I get I need to know how to read. I get I need to know all these basic, things to exist. But like, what's important to you? And so I think,
Mm-hmm.
what my advice would be for those young people was like, all right, what's important to you, and try to double down on that. Don't get me wrong. do your schoolwork, learn what you need to learn, but it's like whatever it is that is most important to you that gives you fulfillment. Focus on that. Um, but then also, like you said, man, connections, man, networking and positioning yourself to be top of mind. Um, because if
I
people
like how
ain't,
you said that.
yeah, man, because if people ain't thinking about you, you know what I'm saying, you miss out on opportunities, and so you got to find ways to stick out.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that's what it is, just showing up as your raw, authentic self. As we talk about, even just going back to Fayetteville State, being able to pull up on the different departments that I used to go see all the time,
Hmm.
right? Career services, the same internship I got to create roots. I run into her all the time, right? Miss
Yeah.
Osborne, phenomenal time every time. But it's the energy, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's the exchange of energy to say the least. And bro, one thing I can say about Fayetteville States, man, is I had so many moms. I had so many aunts. I had so many, of those strong, powerful women that played those roles for me and were able to look me in my face and tell me about myself, but also really help me build out, the next steps across the board. And that's one thing that I think is so vital, man. I was just rapping with my partner, and he didn't have a similar experience at all.
Hmm.
He felt like a huge minority. He felt out of place. It was uncomfortable conversations around him all the time, and I was like, man, that was not my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, but do you think, like, again, I go back to this whole idea of like your attitude. It's like how
Hmm.
he viewed the situation probably played a bigger impact than what was actually
Hmm.
happening. Because
Hmm.
I was like that in college too, man. I was at Valparaiso University, and here I am coming from the south side of Chicago. I got a ton of tattoos. I'm really kind of coming from this gang culture, Chief Keef and all this other stuff. And so here I am on this campus with pretty much all white people. And the funny thing is, I had a great experience. Like I didn't experience any racist, bro. I didn't experience any racism that I was aware of. However, though, my self talk was like, they probably thinking this. They probably saying, what is he up to? But nobody ever said nothing to me. And so if I would have allowed that thought process to kind of take precedent, I probably would have been like, yo, homie, like, man, my situation was this. But because I was aware enough to be like, nah, it ain't really like that. You know what I'm saying? Because, bro,
So,
like,
so
yeah,
I feel that. I feel that, and I don't disagree with that. But on the opposite spectrum, coming from Asheville, now
mm-hmm,
going to Fayetteville State, right, flipping the coin on the other side,
yeah,
I experienced that. I remember things as kids that I just wasn't fond of. But like, you're in the kid role. If I
mm,
spaz on you, I'm gonna get suspended, and I'm gonna have to debate with my mom. Like
yeah,
it's just not worth it at some of these points in times. But that's why I think the diversity of it all is so worthwhile, because I'm appreciative of coming from Asheville and learning, getting the code switching, the maneuvering, being able to
mm-hmm,
chat with individuals I couldn't relate to at all. Right, that helps add value after down the line. But in that moment, you know what I'm saying, I don't feel it was conducive. But it's a part of the journey, it's a part of the process. But I just know being able to be in a space where it's collective, where you're celebrated, where, what I'm saying, that was a huge shift within my life. I could tell, just reflecting on it as well too. And everybody needs that safe space, and being on the opposite side of that, it's not a good experience by any means, but it does play a role with it within the
yeah,
journey itself.
yeah. I mean, that's interesting, man. Like that's extremely interesting to me because growing up, man, I was picked on, and I was picked on by people that look like me. You know what I'm saying? And
So
so,
that's a whole nother. Hey, let's talk about
but
it.
I'm,
I
I'm
like
just
that. I
saying,
like
I'm
that.
just saying,
Yeah,
because like, all right,
yeah,
when I would, bro,
yeah.
I used to tell people this all the time. Like me and my lady, we grew up in the same area. Like she lived on the other side of the tracks, but we grew up in the same area relative to one
Hmm.
another. And I'm like, I would go from, let's say, 112th and Wentworth to 116th and Stewart. And so, if you hear the numbers and you're not from Chicago, you're like, oh, that don't seem like too far, right? But the
Hmm.
reality is, I was traveling a decent distance, and this was in fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, I'm what, 12, 13, maybe 14 at the most. And I'm walking home, and I had learned to like don't carry anything of value with me because people would like
Hmm.
run my pockets, like, and it
Hmm.
was just me. Like the crazy thing is, bro, I tell people this all the time. I had 5 siblings, but like I really grew up like an only child. So when I'm going through these neighborhoods and I'm seeing all the
How is that?
man, short version of the story is I moved away from home at 11.
Understood.
And so
Understood.
I went to go live with my dad's mother's husband, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And to make a long story short, it was just me and my granddad. You know my granddad, you know the story, man. And so we was locked
Mm-hmm. I
in,
do.
but it was just me. I was the
Mm-hmm.
only kid in the crib. And so it's not like when these kids picking on me, I can run home and get my granddad. Like I
Yeah,
love
it's
him.
a wrap.
You know what I'm saying? I love him, but he ain't really. And so,
Yeah.
I had to kind of figure out a way to maneuver. And so what I would do is instead of walking down the main streets, and I would not suggest anybody do this, but I would just walk through the alley. Cause I'm like, I'm gonna avoid all the people on the block. Cause you know what I'm saying? They ain't coming in the alley. That was the dumbest thing to think. But I say all that to say, I transitioned to high school and then I go to college. I was more accepted in college by people that did not look like me than I was by the people
Mm-hmm.
that look like me from my neighborhood. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I was like, here I am thinking that they don't like me or don't rock with me. But I say this to this day, I had one of the most diverse friend groups in Valpo. Like I literally had friends from every ethnic group that you can think of. And part of it was because, like you said in the beginning, I was being authentically myself. And we
Mm-hmm.
found ways that we all related, which was through basketball, which was through gaming, which was through these other things. And if I can give anybody advice, I would say focus on that. Like if you find somebody, although they don't look like you, if they have a similar interest, whether it's in the community, again, whether it's gaming, whether it's cooking, whether it's sports, whether it's writing, it's creative expression, whatever it is, like lock in with those people, tap in with those people. Don't care too much what they look like, because again, like I probably would have considered myself like a little racist going into school. Like I thought every person that didn't look like me was on that. I was like, dang, but then I was like, they not really on that. so yeah,
Yeah.
man. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Nah, I feel it. I feel it. Some of the best friends that I would have never ended up engaging with just started over small, like little mini conversations that
100%.
even weren't supposed to happen. Somebody in trip, we done dropped something, fell into each other. We got partnered. You know what I'm saying? And now we locked in years later. But there was a lot of individuals who I learned a lot from,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just being open minded as well too, man. I think sometimes when you come from a certain area or you hear certain things, there's certain family trends that you do. What stays in it, what happens in the house, stay in the house type mentality,
For
right?
sure.
It keeps you very closed off and closed minded, man. And I remember the first time I ever tasted pasta salad was at my boy Wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, yo, this is busting. Let me get some hot sauce. Will mom died laughing, man. I'll never forget it.
That is
But
funny.
good times and good experiences, man. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't have done a lot. I wouldn't have been exposed to a lot of things that I do and I'm fond of now if it wasn't for being open minded to the relationships, the friendships, and I really, man, building over just small little things that we have in alignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably one of the best skills of salesman. If you can find that small piece that joins you
Yeah.
all, that you're aligned, right? That little, even if it's a little piece of string. And that's one thing I like about football teams. One of the things I'm always speaking on in the bank. Yo, that's your squad. Or you like them? Where y'all just lost Tyreek? Like who? We building off jump and we locked
Yeah.
in following that as well too. But that little string, that little connection, that's all it
Yeah.
takes.
But you just made me think about my at my job. They want me to, like, basically I spoke to the leadership team, so the deputy director, the executive director, and all of them about basically finding a way to build community within our space, right? A lot of my colleagues, they've expressed there's disrespect, there's a disconnect, and they want to kind of build, some relationships. And so of course I was pitching RJ, but of course, many of them have experienced circles, and they've had a negative impact on the people, right? And
Mm.
so, of course, I'm like, people don't realize this, but restorative practices is not just circles, it's a lifestyle. So I'm kind of maneuvering my pitch to be focused on that. But what you just made me think about is I'm also part of this well-being committee. And one of the people on the well-being committee, we have purchased some sandwiches for the staff to just kind of help people mingle and connect. And they bought potato salad, and one of my counterparts, it was like, man, I had never had potato salad before, and she was like, oh my god, this is so good. And so I was like, bro, I was like, it was one of those things. I was like, man, but they also have pasta salad as well. So of course, I did not get the potato salad, but I got some of the pasta salad, and the pasta salad was definitely busted. But Man, it's finding those small, again, like you mentioned, like common things that you have in common, and then just kind of building off of that, man. But man, like Marcus, you know this, man. We can pretty much talk all night. I would love to bring our guest on, man, because he also is a Valparaiso University alumni. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring my boy Lem on. Lem, welcome to the space, man. Welcome to
Hey, thank you for having me. There we
for sure,
go.
for sure.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It's so crazy just hearing y'all like conversate too, right? Like I was here. I had more questions to ask y'all. I wanted y'all to keep going a little bit,
Yeah, for
man.
sure.
So it was cool, man. It was cool hearing that, dog. How y'all feeling though?
Man, feeling good, man. Feeling good, man. Thank you for coming to the space, man, because I know this is gonna be a good one.
Definitely, definitely. Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, I got a question. I want to dive in, man. I'm very intrigued to say the least, man. I know first, man, you grew up the 15th out of 18 children. I'm on the south side of Chicago, man. Want to hear a little bit about how that environment taught you about community and how does it show up in your work today?
Yeah, so it's such an interesting upbringing, right? Because it was never a dull moment. It's never like a dull moment, right? So I got 7 brothers and 10 sisters,
Mm.
right? And so it was just never a dull moment in the house, and I didn't know we were poor until like like 5th grade.
Yeah,
I didn't understand. It was so fun. There's so much stuff happening and stuff like that. And so it was just an interesting time. We like all lived in the same house for like 3 years. It was just such an interesting time. But one of the things that one of the biggest takeaways I got from that experience is just not how to have more resources or think about how I need more resources, but it's how to be more resourceful. So when you grow up
Mhm.
from a space of lack, you start to learn how to, oh, well, hey, I can use this shirt for a few different things. Instead of throwing this shirt away, I can maybe use it as a cleaning towel or something like that, right? You don't just throw it away. And so that was one of the biggest things I was taught too, just in terms of resourcefulness. But then outside of that, even as I grew up outside, like my child going into my teenage years, I had to move away a lot. I was a troublemaker as a kid. I was in and out of trouble, had a little juvenile record and stuff like that, and so I had to go live with different siblings. And so I had to go live with my sisters, to live with my brothers and stuff like this. And it was sometimes in my life where I felt like I didn't even have parents. I felt like I was getting raised by a group of people. And at the time, it was tough, right? But in hindsight, what was happening, it was like I was getting built. I was getting shaped for something. See, because my brothers taught me what it meant to be tough and what it meant to be resilient, but my sisters taught me what it meant to be emotionally intelligent
yeah,
and to be accountable. All right. So I'm getting this well-rounded perspective. You know, they say it take a village to raise a child. And that's exactly what was happening. I was getting raised by a village. And so
yeah.
I was understanding the village mindset. And I was also understanding the importance of ecosystem building and collaboration. So important to me, man. And so just the interest, the upbringing, but man, it taught me so much. I wouldn't change it for the world, man.
Man, you said 7 brothers and 9
10,
sisters.
sis-
Oh, 10 sisters.
10
Ten.
sisters.
10 sisters, yeah.
Man, I'm.
Mm.
That's so interesting. So are most of them like older than you? I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I'm 15. I'm the 15th child, so it's 3 that's younger than me, and it's 14 that's
Sheesh.
older.
Dang, I guess listening is fundamental because Marcus definitely asked that in the question, but I just can't even imagine like what those like, when you were in the family setting with most of those siblings, like what was it like at the dinner table, or like what kind of lessons did you learn just being in those spaces with them while you guys were together? Because I kind of mentioned this, 3 sisters and 2 brothers, and all of them are older than me except my younger brother. And so,
Hmm.
similar to you, um, being around my sisters, I took a little bit something different from them. Like I learned how to talk to women, like in a
Yeah.
sense of um, like I remember this to this day when I was in high school. A lot of my homies would come to me for advice of like how to talk to their girl. I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to date your girl, so don't ask me for advice because I might take her. I used to say that all the time, but the reality was my sisters taught me, like similar to what you said, the emotional intelligence of like how I can articulate myself in a way that is not so rah rah, but like I kind of get my
Yeah.
point across. But it's like, okay, you got a little finesse with them. My
Yeah.
brother, I didn't really get a lot of lessons from my older brother, but I'm just interested in like knowing like what did you learn when you were in house with a lot of them before you had to move away and get raised by the village?
Definitely, yeah. So in house, it was so funny. In general, right? Like just like the aspect, my brothers was like really a big stickler on never quitting, like
Mm-hmm.
never giving up. So no matter what this is, sometimes they would like send me to go, like we a big combat sports family. So I grew up
Okay.
like kickboxing, boxing and stuff like this, wrestling. And so they would send me to like kind of, spar with some of their older friends, but they was really big on never giving up. Like never
Yeah.
giving up. Even if it's a task, my father wanted us to put together this bookshelf. If you don't know how to do, you got to figure out how to do it. You never don't go ask nobody else. Hey, can you fix this for me? You need to figure that out. So never give up. That was one of the biggest things with my brothers. Like they was real big on that. Like never giving up, and also being physically like fit. But my sisters, man, my brothers was tough, but one of the things I say, my sister was tougher than my brothers, man. They
Mm.
was they like my sister and them like warriors. I'm like dang, like y'all chill, like they was like warriors, and so my sisters they would test you, man. They definitely would test you. They would push me and stuff like that. They would test me. But the thing was, it's like we couldn't. There was no like we had a rule in the house. Even as we were a combat sport family, we could never fight,
Mm.
right? And so, especially not with your sisters, right? And so, I had to start learning how to use my words. So, similar to how you talking about how your sister taught you how to, talk to women, I learned how to talk to women, but I also learned how to talk to people because I learned that emotion wasn't a woman thing; it was a human thing.
100%.
And so when you understand and consider people emotion and the way you communicate, it helps you get through to them. It helps you kind of understand. And so like that was some of the biggest like foundational like lessons that I had learned in that space, man. It was an interesting time.
Nah, that's beautiful. Yeah, sis always plays a role. You got to be a little bit more smooth, a little bit more gentle, a little bit
Yeah,
more fragile. And I didn't really realize that reflecting on my relationship with my sister, because me and my sister used to dog each other. But but with my baby girl, we won't do none of that. We ain't having none of that. You know what I'm saying? My
definitely.
daughter helped me see that, so I understand that. Well, you also mentioned, man. You mentioned not only were you the first in your family, but you were the first like on your block, bro. Like in your hood altogether, man. That is impeccable. And I know that probably had to be a pretty big transition for you, man. You didn't really have a blueprint. You didn't necessarily have a lot of people, be able to pick their brain, what to expect or something of that nature, man. So I want you to kind of walk us through that experience, man, and that transition for you, what that did for you.
Yeah. So if I'm being honest, like it was so interesting. It was so interesting navigating this because like growing up, I was always a troublemaker, but I always had good grades. Like I remember having this like it's like a duality, like this duality, right? I remember one time they wanted to kick me out of school. They wanted to send me to alternative school. It's like seventh grade, but I had straight A's. And so the principal cannot justify to the school board why they kick this boy out if he has straight A's. And so I've always navigated this duality of being an intellectual, but also being kind of like a troublemaker. And so with like growing up, it was always interesting. They used to say like, one of my older brothers, he was like in his gang and stuff like that, and he was considered a regent. That means he like run his region of a gang, and so like being his little brother, it was interesting. He's like, yeah, when little Lem grow up, he gonna be this, he gonna be the man, he gonna do this. And so it always, in a sense, felt like I was getting groomed to lead. It was always felt like I was getting groomed to do something or to be something. It was always felt like this level of being groomed. But it just didn't turn out to be in a way of a gang or something like that. It turned out to be like from a school perspective. And so when I started, when I started like trying to go to college and stuff like that, and I didn't really know what to do. I used to ask my professors, ask my teachers and stuff like this, look stuff up, all kind of stuff. And I was a big reader, like an avid researcher and stuff like this too. So it was cool to kind of have the duality of being, the kid with good grades, but also being that troublemaker because I was able to connect with multiple people. And so when it started planning to go to college, I'm asking my honors classmates, like, hey, what y'all do? Hey, how y'all navigate this?
Yeah,
You
for
feel what I'm
sure.
saying? I'm asking how y'all do that. My homie them in the hood telling me, y'all, bro, you got this. We ain't even worry about it. You got this, bro. And so my trunk party happened when I'm about to go to college. It's like 300 people out there because all of them saw themselves in me. They're like, this, they saw themselves in me. And so me stepping into, being a first, it felt, of course, I was nervous. I felt the pressure, but I also felt like I was representing us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was going to show the world that we can be much more than where we come from. And so while I was nervous, I was also met with a sense of pride that like, no, I'm finna go make this happen. I don't
Yeah.
know how, but I'm finna go make this happen, man. So, and it was interesting navigating that transition, bro. But it was beautiful.
Yeah, man.
I like the duality you talk about, man, because I can definitely relate to getting in trouble, getting suspended for doing the most dumbest things on the back of the buses, getting caught, all that stuff, but had the best grades. And there was a
Right.
situation I had similarly, man, where like the assistant principal set me down, like, if you were anybody else,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would be over for you. I'm telling you, and just
Yes.
saved by grace. But one piece you talked about, man, I really feel like those individuals who are really smart but yet troublemakers, it's a high energy element. I could
Yeah.
always tell you that's what I was bored in class. Like I
Yep.
once I completed it, I'm playing with somebody else now. I'm doing something else of that nature. And that was the problem. But being able to provide those additional things to stimulate us. And we were actually just talking about it in regards to like college, and the different individuals who were able to, provide us the service, the education that we can relate to the experiences. It sounds like you did a lot of networking down there, man. I want to hear a little bit about what your circle looked like across the board. Was it really diverse? Tell me a little bit about what that looked like for you.
Yeah, nah, definitely, man. It was diverse, really diverse too. Like to the point where like we they used to tell me this. They say, Lim, you bilingual. I'm like, man, I only can speak English. How am I bilingual, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was like, man, like you can communicate to them and us and stuff like this. So when I got to college, man, I was able to build connections all across campus. So much so that like it even got to a point where like the university didn't even make decisions without consulting me first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The board would like come call, like they would come call me in for certain things. But it was so interesting too, is because even in that networking, one of the things that I learned like about like networking too, right, is that like diversity is strength. Diversity is strength. And so in that network came power. And so when it came time to advocate for certain things on campus for the black students, we only made up like 5% of the campus. I had my white counterparts in there
One hundred
speaking up, like,
percent.
and that changed the whole trajectory. You could see the school probably ain't used to. They're like, oh wait, whoa, the white students talking about racial equity. How did that, become a thing? But it was because of that network, because of those relationships, and so it was so cool to not only for me to build relationships, but for me to get other students to build relationships with each other that they might not have done before.
Yeah.
And so man, college was a interesting time, bro. It
Yeah.
was cool though.
Man, I'm interested in going back a step, like, cause my story of like how I landed at Valpo was because of a girl, honestly. But I'm interested in knowing like how do you go from the south side of Chicago to Valparaiso, Indiana? Like when I say that's like polar opposites,
Definitely.
like how did that happen?
Definitely, man. It was so crazy because I was at the last minute. I decided like I need to go to college. I need to figure this out and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't get a good grade on my ACT. And so every day after school and high school, I'm studying, trying
Yeah.
to figure out how to study. And the librarian say, "Lem, what are you doing? You always back here." So I'm trying to get a better grade on my ACT so I can afford to go to college. And she's like, "Okay, well I'll help you." And so this lady helps me every day after school, right? We get a better grade on the ACT and stuff like that, and we trying to get into school. But certain schools weren't necessarily letting me in. I think it'll hit to something to do with my juvenile background that they don't leave
Mm-hmm.
off your record until you like 18. So there's a lot of stuff that was happening with that. And so we applied to Valpo, and she was explaining to me like she actually introduced Valpo to me. She was saying like she was an alumni from Valpo and like how it was a
Okay.
good school, it's not that far. So she explained it to me, and we applied. We got in, right, but I'm short like 12K. And I'm like, man, I'm probably not gonna be able to go to college. I can't, afford to pay the 12K. That's like the only real offer I had. So she get the whole community, the school, the teachers to email Valpo community letters of support, like, hey, give this young man a chance, please. This, and this. So Valpo reaches out. They say, hey, look, this is a private institution. Every year tuition increases. We'll
Yes.
help him cover the first year spread, but he got to figure out a way to cover the years after that. I'm like, man, all I need is opportunity. Valpo gave me the opportunity, and I took it, man. The rest was history, bro.
Yeah, man. Hey, no, man. Listen, ain't nobody give me that heads up before coming to Valpo saying that
Yeah,
tuition gonna go up every year. and it wasn't going up 1,000 or two.
What?
Man,
Mm.
ain't nobody give me that heads up, man. Hey, look, cause when
Yeah.
I came in, I was, again, very similar story, man. Super smart, got in a little bit of trouble, but I was one of those people that like got in trouble but never really had like a record to follow them. You know what I'm saying? Like I was kind of maneuvering really smart, and part of that was because I had family members that were like really close to me that got caught or was going through stuff, and I was like, I don't really want to be that guy because I don't want that to follow me. But so I was able to get tons of scholarships from Valpo, but some of my homies that ended up being at Valpo, they didn't have that same opportunity. So I would see like after semesters would go past, a lot of them would end up, having to transfer or do something else because that tuition was biting them, man. It was crazy. But I'm interested. Was Brother James still there when you were there?
I
The
don't.
he
I,
was the barber. He was the barber that would
oh yeah,
come
he
to the
was. Yeah, no, he was
yeah
there. He
yeah
was
yeah
there.
yeah
No, he was. He was.
yeah man.
He
So
was.
so Brother James was like a little mentor to me, man. He would always be like just how you were talking about, like people like, man, Lem, you bilingual, you this, you that. Man, Brother James was like that to me. Like I was one of the first people. Well, really, I'm the reason he came because I had gone to the OMP, the Office of Multicultural Programs, and said,
Yeah.
hey, black people need a barber. Like I'm not trying to go all the way back to the crib to get my haircut. You know what I'm saying? Like we need
Right.
somebody to come and cut hair. So make a long story short, they pulled some strings and they got him to come in. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. When he came, I seen him. I'm like, man, I'm not really trying to be the test dummy for Buddy to see if he could cut hair or not. So I
Right.
sent one of my homies. My homie got the cut. He was decent. So we like, all right, we gonna rock with him. But one of the things he helped change my perspective as I was there because he had a friend or a best friend rather, business partner that was white. And so he would like always tell me like, bro, you like it's not as black and white as you think. He was like,
Hmm.
bro, it makes way more sense for you to have people that look like them with you. So when you go to the table, they'll listen. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, nah, forget that. I'm coming from the South Side. I'm pro black. Forget what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
But he was the first person to identify like you're a connector. Like you may not
Yeah.
have all the answers. He was like, you may not
Hmm.
have all the answers, but I see where you're going. Um, it's a quote that I say often, Marcus, is when what is it? When purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. Like he
Oof.
told me that. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And so he was always one of them people that was like, you got all these kids from Southside Chicago, they walking around here like you. He was like, but at least you smart enough to listen to me. And so when I think about all that you saying, man, it reminds me of that. But just kind of switching gears a little bit. When you were at Valpo, you had the opportunity to go with the Jewish National Fund caravan. Tell us about that. What surprised you most about that process, and what did that trip do to change how you see the world?
Man, bro, it's crazy. I'm damn. How y'all know that? You know what I mean? I
Hey,
just really,
hey,
hey
man, we do
man,
our research,
research, huh?
man. Yeah, man.
Definitely. Okay, nah, definitely, bro. That was bro, like that was life changing for a variety of reasons. So what happens is what they do, the Jewish National Fund, what they do is they choose top 50 student leaders in the United States from all these different universities across the country to go to Israel for about around like 2 weeks in order, to learn. And so I'm like, I'm the first person in Valpo history to get selected for this. They came specifically to the university to recruit me for this, which I thought was really interesting too. My dean called me in. It's this person here. They're like, yeah, everything that you've been doing on campus and in Chicago, man, we would love for you to come. This, and this. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was interesting. And so, man, I go on this trip, and I'm the only person there who from a hood. I'm the only
Yeah,
person there who a first generation college student. You got some of the smartest students in the country. In the country, we got Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Tuskegee, Morehouse, Spelman. I mean, I'm talking about Penn State, top university. These students are really intelligent. So when I'm there, I'm thinking like, Lord, I don't know why you got me here. These students way smarter than me. I
yeah,
don't know why I'm here, man. I'm questioning. I'm questioning myself. Like the first like 3 days, I'm quiet. I don't even say a word just because I don't feel like I'm misqualified. Like these students are like extremely intelligent. Like I wouldn't even be surprised somebody from out of there will come out to be the president. This how intelligent they is, man. And so man, I'm there and I'm learning about this global conflict, how to address global conflict, and how issues aren't as black and white as we may think they are,
Mhm.
and how either or is limiting. Right and wrong sometimes is very limiting. If you label something just overly right, then you are cutting off your access to understand what that is sometimes, right? Like, and so how nuance exists, right? And how complexity requires a level of collaboration. Just kind of building on some of the things I was already taught. And so, man, I'm quiet. I'm learning different things, and the HBCU students and the Ivy League students getting into a whole altercation. And the lady who was leading the trip, she said, "Hey, Lim, can you help us navigate this?" Now, remember, they said I was bilingual. And this
Yeah.
is the time. This is so crazy right now. This is years later, bro. Like, it's so crazy. Now I'll get to use that. So I get the chance to mend that relationship between the HBCU students and the Ivy League students. And so it was really cool, bro. And by day 12, we got to do this complex, like, leadership thing, like leadership simulation. Like, we run the country. We got to structure ourselves as a government to run this country. And our country getting bombed, they country getting bombed. How do we handle and navigate global conflict? And so we got to structure ourselves as a government. So who's going to be the prime minister? Now we got 50 intelligent student leaders across the country here in one room, and it's amazing, bro. And all these leaders are watching us solve this problem. They just like they got Israeli they diplomats, all of them kind of watching how we gonna navigate this conflict, right? And what was so crazy, bro? They're like, all right, we gonna vote for who gonna be the prime minister. They put all the names in the hat. Okay, they start pulling names out the hat, bro. 49 out of 49 votes say Lem Cartman. Now, mind you, bro, like I didn't even know why I was there in the first place. I didn't feel like I was smart enough. But by day 12, these top 50 student leaders who are intelligent have chosen me to be their leader.
Yeah.
Like, this is like I'm like, bro, this is crazy. And so I lead the only way I know how, bro. The only way I know how. I think many times as leaders, we think it's our job to have all the answers, but that ain't true. It's our job as leaders to create the environment for the team to find the answers together. And that's the
100%.
only way that's the only way I know how, bro. I created that environment, bro. We end up solving the problem, like getting all these diverse perspectives from the different students, putting it together. We end up solving the problem. And we all clapped and stuff like this. We did a good job on it, man. And one of the diplomats, he comes in, he shakes my hand like, wow, what, like, amazing job. Like, he just like amazing job. And that was just, man, all that whole experience was eye opening, from the leadership philosophy, from the spiritual components, from understanding complexity, from looking at things from a different standpoint, and then from understanding global conflict and how to address it, man. It was a big foundation, like a big step built upon what was already taught to me as a child, what I already had learned through my upbringing, man. So that was life changing.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of momentum came from that, man. It sounds like that was a life impacting situation and environment. And again, to your point, man, it's crazy what we can do just with a little bit of faith and the right opportunities, man. It sounds like you really lean into it. You at the right place at the right time, and you are able to deliver from something you've been doing for years, man. But again, I commend you for taking that leap of faith across the board. And obviously you're doing something phenomenal if you're the only one from Valpo that they sought you out. But now you know what one of one to lead the prime minister. It sounds like you could give our government currently some advice, right? but
I
but they
tried.
gonna
I
call
tried,
it.
bro.
You feel me?
I
You did your
definitely
part,
tried,
right?
man.
You did your part. But man, I know we is a big thing for you, man. Collective in general is, and I know we stands for we everything, and I know it's a firm that serves the servers, as you say, man. Would love for you to talk a little bit about that, how you service schools, clinics, as well as nonprofits across the board.
So Marcus, you got to come
Yeah.
correct, man. It's with everyone. You got to
Oh,
come.
excuse me.
Yeah, man.
We
Yeah.
I saw we ain't really aligned, but yes, with everyone. Excuse me.
Ubuntu, which is like an African philosophy that says, "I am because we are," emphasizing that
Yeah.
there is no individual without the collective. You know what I mean? And so that's where the "we" mantra even came from. And so that philosophy has led itself into a lot of things that we're doing across the country right now. So we're doing this in two main ways. We got a consultant arm where we help in different organizations, like so we got some real, like, it's some real, like, I'm trying to tell you, the whole team is like super intelligent. Even though I'm technically, the leader, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody on the team way smarter than me, bro. Like, the whole team is like, man, everybody's like really intelligent. And so we bring in high level rigor and corporate resources and high level thought, right, to social impact places. And so, like, one of the things that we just did in Philadelphia was we built a model to bring together for different community investment networks to bring their money together to invest in and give money to different organizations that have lost funding due to federal rollbacks for the Trump administration. And so, of course, each of these different community investment networks could have just did it in their own communities by themselves, but it's better when we do it together, right? Because now we got a bigger investment pool. Now we got bigger money. And so we had created a model for them to bring them dollars together to give to organizations. But we also, as we get these to organizations, what we doing is we incentivizing collaboration. So in any given city, that's probably like almost like 5,000 to 6,000 nonprofits, many of whom who are working to address the same issue. So what we
Mhm.
does is, instead of having y'all compete, y'all already working on the same issue. Instead of having y'all compete over resources, we're gonna help y'all collaborate, and so y'all can get the biggest resource by collaborating. And so what we did in Philly was like a model for that from a philanthropy perspective on how dollars can incentivize collaboration, because we know all, like, many hands make light work. And so that's the thing when we talk about addressing issues and stuff like that. So that's the consultant arm. Then we got a social impact arm called We Initiatives, and this is where we build and test solutions directly in communities. And so right now our big flagship is the Young Leaders Collaborative that's happening 2027. Man, we connect in Chicago young leaders under 30 to Detroit young leaders under 30, many of whom are addressing the same issues. So why don't we connect them, right? That was the mindset. Why don't we connect them, right? Because, man, like, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much, right? And so that's some of the work that we doing with we, man. I'm super excited about this, super proud of the team, man. We doing some amazing work. I'm super proud of the team, man. So looking forward to seeing all this build out.
So I'm interested, like for our listeners, because you talked a
Mhm.
lot about um collaboration. You kind of talked about a little bit of faith of like being the you didn't consider yourself one of the smart people in the room, and it's like, how do you continue to move forward when you, how can I say this, when it appears that like, man, listen, I'm just working, like I'm just doing it, like how do you continue to move forward? Because I know for a fact, right, there's some young
Mhm.
people out there, there's some other leaders that are in certain situations that like, man, I want to be a change maker, I want to serve other people, but like for some reason they may not feel like they have the resources, they may feel like they're not smart enough, right? How do you continue to push the needle even though you may not know what the next step looks like?
Yeah, man. I think a strong why can persevere anyhow, right? And it's kind of looking at what is our why, how are we in this position that we in, our social position as a people in this country, right? And kind of going back to our own individual purposes and our own why. And so for me, it's been going back to my why. And my why has been a catalyst to how I do the work and when I do the work and what kind of work that I do. And so when I'm speaking to other people, it's really kind of speaking to that spirit in them. What's your why? And how do
Yeah.
we help you define that, help you, build on that? How can you utilize that as a catalyst? Right. And so for me, that's been, the biggest thing in order to, just kind of keep moving forward is remembering what my why is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
You well, not just you, but we was named, what was it? They say 2025 Black Ambitious Semifinalists, and
Mm.
you guys went up against thousands of other companies and organizations. Like, what did that validation do for you?
Man, it was, man, I cried when we got there, brother. Like, it's one thing to
Mhm.
have a vision, right? When God gives you a vision, right? And it's been so crazy too. The reason why I cried is really because, bro, like I've been getting like, it's like I've been getting built to do this my whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my whole life has been a testament to the philosophy of what we can do when we come together, what collective impact look like. And so to now build something, right, where we move and we working hard on it. And now we incorporating technology, how tech can be a tool to bring collaboration, a tool to utilize collective impact. And so for us to get that notoriety, man, I cried because it was more of a confirmation of the vision that God had gave me that was much
Mm.
bigger than myself.
Yeah,
And
man.
so that, man, that was everything to me, bro. I'm not gonna lie, that was everything to me. I'm like, wow, like man, we moving. Like, you know what I mean? It's really moving, and this ain't theory anymore.
Yeah.
This is practice.
Mhm. hmm Having a vision, bringing it to life, seeing the impact, it's worth shedding a tear, man. And every now and
Definitely.
then you want to hit that little gangster tear, but you just gotta lean into it. Sometimes you gotta
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
it flow and celebrate you, man. I think being able to cry upon celebration is the biggest form of, giving yourself flowers, right? And
Yeah.
also giving yourself grace to be vulnerable at that moment. That's beautiful, man. I know Detroit plays a big part in your life, man. You've talked a lot about it across the podcast today, but I know you actually came to Detroit in 2024 through the Competitive Administrative Fellowship with Henry Ford Health, man. Like that within itself says a lot. I would love to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that and how that really played a role in your perspective when it came to community relationships.
No, definitely, man. So that was God given, to be honest. So before leaving Chicago, I helped build the number two trauma therapy program in the city of Chicago, addressing PTSD. So it was a lot of things I learned in the Middle East when I was in Israel around PTSD. So I come back to Chicago with a stack of papers, and I'm like, bro, I don't know one way or another, I'm gonna bring this back to Chicago to address PTSD. I had navigated my own challenges with PTSD as a child, and so I wanted to address it. And so at the time, and while I'm going to grad school and stuff like this, that's a lot of stuff that's happening. The mayor give me a shout out in Chicago. The governor give me a shout out. They invite me to this private meeting because we building things, and so things are going really, really well in Chicago. And so in my field of health administration, administrative fellowship, when 3% of people in the country get it, nobody in Valpo history had ever gotten one, and so it was really tough. And so by the grace of God, man, I ended up getting like 6 offers, and all my mentors, my family, everybody told me, okay, well, continue on your path that you're doing what you're doing here in Chicago. Continue on that path. You got everything going for yourself. They didn't just put you on a billboard. You got all this big stuff happening. You waited, you ingrained in it. But it was something in my spirit that said I needed to go. Right. And it's the hard part when you're trying to explain your calling to other people, because you're calling in a conference call. Right. And so everybody like, Lem, don't leave? Why would you leave? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. But it was something in my spirit. It made no sense logically. But this is what the power of obedience is. It's doing it even when it makes no sense, but you know in your spirit you got to do it. My
Yep.
logic will catch up. My spirit is already there. And so, man, I made the decision to go to Detroit. Never been to Detroit in my life when I accepted. Never, I didn't even really know anything about Detroit when I really accepted, to be honest. I accepted. It was something my spirit told me to go. I accepted. Man, I get here to Detroit, man, as an administrative fellow, one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. I've been embraced here in Detroit in ways I couldn't even imagine. These people really embrace me, wrap their arms around me, bro. I feel flat on my face and strangers pick me up. That ain't by design, that's by divine, bro. And like, man, so the work that I was, doing with Henry Ford, it just showed me how important it is to have community trust. You can
hmm
have expertise. Expertise means nothing without trust.
100%.
and,
hmm
and culture eats vision for breakfast. And so coming here to Detroit, I had expertise, right? I had the vision, but I had to go get the trust. I had to go get those community relationships. I had to go build those community relationships. I had to go sit in the back of city council meetings and just listen. Right? They don't know who a Lem Cartman who a Lem Cartman is. In Chicago, I'm this big figure. Here in Detroit, they didn't know nothing about me. And so you gotta leave all that at the door. I've got to come humble. You know what I mean? And so what it taught me is the importance of building those relationships and showing up as human, not as a role, but as a human, as a whole person. And so, Detroit has been super supportive. Even now, the work that we doing now in the city, and that's the reason why I chose to stay. I was only supposed to be here for a year, bro. I chose to stay because of the work that we are doing here in the city with Henry Ford. Man, we doing some amazing things, man. So, man, this was life changing, bro. It's life changing after life changing event, man. So I love Detroit, though, definitely.
Hey man, Detroit obviously rocking with you, man. Cause in just a year with you being there, man, you got three major, recognitions: Future Leaders of Michigan, Black Tech Saturdays Future Honoree, and the 25 under 25 Legacy Leadership. So, what do you make of that, man? Just a kid from Chicago, now you doing big things in Detroit, man, the Motor City. Like, what do you make of that?
Man, Maya Angelou has this quote. She says, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000." And what she's alluding to is the fact that you are a representation of all the lives that have touched you, all the places, all the people, all the spaces that have helped shape you. And so when I got here to Detroit, I might have showed up as one, but I stood as 10,000. Bro, there was so many people that has poured into me. So many people that continue to pour into me. I didn't do none of this by myself. I couldn't do none of this by myself.
For sure.
And like, and so what I make of this is that everything that I have done in Detroit, in Chicago, my life in general has all been a result of collective effort. The people have poured into me, the collective impact. People have poured into me, supported me, pushed me when I was tired, lifted me up when I felt like I couldn't go anymore. And so that's, to be honest, that's what I make it at. And so these accomplishments that I have gotten in Detroit isn't necessarily just a representation of Lim. It's a representation of the community that has supported Lim, and it's a representation of Detroit itself,
For
because I
sure.
couldn't do it if they didn't embrace me. They allowed me to come here as an outside. They embraced me like one of their own, bro. And so, man, I think it's just a representation of how, man, like how community like is so important.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's amazing how when you go outside your community, you're celebrated. Most people say right in their own community they aren't. That wasn't the case for you, but you was able to
Nah,
go to another community and be celebrated to that extent as well, man. And what I heard you kind of talk about is being, since you kind of stand on the shoulders of those who have sacrificed and come forward before you, right? Their sacrifices are not in vain, and that has carried you and built that momentum going forward. Again, kudos to you, man. What One of the things I want to talk a little bit about is the hardest challenge, man. When it comes to just learning, being the youngest in the room. It sounds like you were at a lot of tables, right? You may have, you already kind of alluded to not feeling like you were the smartest, right? You already kind of alluded to maybe being the most naive in some of these circles, but obviously you're flourishing with that. But coming in, kind of stepping out on faith is one thing. But those who may feel like they're in a similar position, right, or they don't really have a lot to offer, or they may not be worthy to sit at the table, man. What would you tell them, and what helped you go through at the end of the day?
one of the first things I would tell a person is these people who at big tables, these people who got big titles, these people who got big, big names and making a lot of money, they ain't that smart. Just gonna be honest. They ain't that smart. They human just like you. Even it's times when we feel unworthy, or we feel like they feel the same thing, right? And so it's humanity. No matter what, no matter which way it's disguised, it's still humanity over there. That's one of the first things. But one of the second things too is to let your work speak for itself. You
For
know what I
sure.
mean? And listening is, you got two ears, one mouth. Listening, like you should listen twice as much as you speak, right? And listening is so important. You listening to what's being said, but also what's not being said, right? And so you start understanding how certain systems and how certain spaces work, right? And so one of the things that I'm big on is asking questions. I call it humble inquiry. It's a book. I love it, and this has really helped me. I feel like a statement is only as important as the amount of words in a statement. A question is as important as the amount of conversation that stems from that question. And so if you really want to impress somebody, you ain't gonna impress. If you want to get something across, you ain't gonna really impress them by your statements, by trying to show that you smart. You really impressed by being inquisitive, by
For sure.
by asking the question instead of giving a statement, right? And so what I found was that was so impactful for me from getting things across to people. I could tell them, but it's different when I ask them. Your brain actually works in a different way. That's why in school they ask you questions to make sure you retain the information, and they ain't just telling you it. And so questions are super important. And so that was one of the key pieces to navigating this space. You know what I mean? Is believing in my own strength. There is no one like you, right? And so whoever listening and may feel like there is no one like you, and that is your superpower. And you ain't got to be like nobody else. You got to be like you. Got to be the best version of you. And so me being the youngest in the room, oh, there was no other young people in there. So guess what? I get to use my youth. Okay, me being the only person that come from a hood in this corporate boardroom, guess what? I get to use those experience. I can speak their language, right? And so it's utilizing the skill sets that I have. And that's why history favors not only the most resource, but it favors the most resourceful. How do you use what you have? And so that's what I've done, is really use what I have.
Yeah, man. I love everything you've been saying, Lim. And I gotta give a big shout out to Cody, man, because Cody is really who connected all three of us, right? Um,
Definitely.
and something that Cody would say to me, man, is when I first started working with the org, he was like, because I would get nervous, like, I got all this knowledge, I got all this information, but like I'm like, man, how do I get people to like listen to me? And he pulled me to the side one day and was like, bro, you got to understand that it is a privilege for them to be talking to you too. And I was like, damn. Hold on. I mean, obviously, but I was like, damn, I never thought about
Yeah.
it like that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so, so when I hear you speak, Lem, I think of that, and not in an arrogant way of like I know, but shout out to Chuck too, because Chuck said the quality of the question determines the quality of the answer,
Yes,
and
sir.
focusing on quality questions, that will take you further. And the last kind of quote that I want to say is like, man, an interested person is interesting. When you
Mm.
ask people questions,
Yes.
people will tell you everything, right? Because you're that interested in them. But I got one more question for you, Lem. Man, what what's one thing you wish more people, especially young people growing up the way you did, understood about what's possible for them?
Mm. Man, I that's such an interesting question, man, and that's it's so tough. They would just ask me something like that the other day. We hit a youth summit in DC, and they was asking me about that. And I think when you grow up in a certain environment, it equips you with certain skills that like most people don't understand. And so the Bible speaks on like how like there is a connection between suffering and servitude, right? The things you have been through are can be a catalyst to your ability to do things, right? So often the source of our greatest pain is often the source of our greatest purpose. And so to those young people that come from the background that I come from, the pain that you have felt is not a hindrance, it's a strength. You have
Mhm.
been developed, you have been forged through fire, like metal, like some of the hardest swords been forged through fire. So you are uniquely positioned to serve. God says that in order to prepare my people for a great service, I have to take them through a great suffering. And so there is a connection between the two, right? And I don't think that's something that should be like, taking it, not taken for granted. You know what I mean? Because even when we look at some of the greatest leaders to have ever lived in a black community, they have all went through a space of suffering. They have all went through
Mhm.
things. They have all turned those things around. That so the things we've been through, man, they are like, man, they're like it's like a boost behind us. One of my good friends from Philly, he said, it gives you a different level of velocity. The
For
real
sure.
change makers in the world, I'm gonna be honest with everybody here. The real change makers in the world ain't coming from a university, they come from the hood. Period. Period.
hmm
For sure.
There's a different type of tolerance and resiliency that come in play, right? When you've had to endure that grit, that grind, right?
Mhm.
Kind of like a football, you get knocked down a few times, right? Eventually, you're gonna be prepared for it, right?
Mhm.
I always say sometimes it takes us getting shell shocked to really wake up and make a move, right? You got to
Yep.
be, what I'm saying, you got to get a cavity to understand. Nah, I'm gonna floss that much more, right? You
Mhm.
gotta lean into it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But man,
Definitely.
bro, you
Definitely.
you said so much, bro. You dropped so many jewels, so much wisdom. But you have led by example. You have painted a picture for the next generation, man. Of there's no hurdles that can stop you, right? You gotta get your reps and you gotta practice and you gotta come to the table prepared, man. And that has allowed you to excel at this point in your life, man. For those who are looking to tap in with you as we close out, man, want to tap in with you, your organization, support, any of the above, where can they find you? What information can we give them? Quick shameless plug.
Yeah, man, definitely follow us on Instagram at We Inc. Global. Definitely follow us on Instagram. Tune in, man. You can find a website at www.risewithwe.com, and then just tap in. See, if we got some interest forums, man. If anybody want to collaborate, please check the website, man. Let's collab, man. We looking to collaborate with anybody. We looking to have different conversation. We looking to spread this work, man. I think alone we could do so little, but together we can do so much. And so tap in with us. Let's do it.
For sure. For sure. Let's grow together, family, man. We just had another fire guest for y'all, man. I know that y'all got a ton of tremendous value, but As always, hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and man, we'll check y'all out next week. Peace out.
We don't climb alone, we rise in weather. Every seed we plant, let's grow together. Truth in the soil, faith in the roots. Different paths, same table, same truth. Real conversations, watering souls. No cloud chasing, just taking control. Pain to purpose, lessons we share. If you still listening, you meant to be here. Apply what you heard. Reflect, move different. Until next time, let's grow together.